All right, we're going to do a little TIG brazing today with silicon bronze, and I'm going to blacken the part after it's done to see that contrast between blackened steel and the silicon bronze filler metal. But before we get into this week's video, I want to let you know I have been looking to add TIG gloves to my store for quite a while now, and I've gotten all kinds of samples from all kinds of places. Some of them were just okay, some of them were not good at all. And one pair, I remember a sample that I got as soon as I put it on like this and then did like this, it just ripped on the seam right there. Well, one of the things I like about this is there is no seam there. The design doesn't have a seam there. When that thing pops open, you know that open place will find hot metal right away. So these are finally found some that are soft and comfortable but durable also, and that's important to me. I don't want to sell junk. I can't have people spending their hard-earned money on junk. So these are available on the store now at weldmonger.com. Let's get into the video. So in this video, you're going to see me fixturing these things using the crummy fixture plate, a little tack welding at about 2 pulses per second, and then just jamming the wire in there and just getting a small tack, just using just enough heat to flow that silicon bronze. And then I weld them out using a furick ceramic 12, just lay wire technique, pulsing at about 2 pulses a second right over the wire. That worked pretty good, but I did have kind of a hard time following the seam sometimes. The wire tended to hide the joint. So I wound up dipping in and out. Sometimes I didn't really find it made a whole lot of difference on the overall appearance, whether I left the wire in the puddle or dipped it in and out. Man, that one. After it was all done, I wire brushed it down, wiped it down good with alcohol, and then blackened it, but we'll talk about that later. Here's an arc shot of no pulse at all, just straight current, and you can see how watery that puddle is. It's just wandering and flowing all over the place, and when you're going uphill, that tends to sag a little bit if you don't have your heat, just minimal heat. Whereas with pulsing, it's kind of like using a 6010 electrode with fast freeze flux on it. You know, it allows it to solidify momentarily. I find it helpful anyway. This is an aluminum star that I posted this video a couple weeks ago, and I decided it would be a lot more fun to do this for a video than just weld a couple of plates together, because you get to talk about different angles of the torch, different ways to feed rod, rotating the torch in your hand as you come up an angle, a radius or whatever. So it's a fun little project to weld. It's from Precision Tube Laser Company, by the way, if anybody's interested. So that brings us to this week, the steel star. I'm still using the crummy fixture plate. At Crummy Welding on Instagram if you're interested in learning more about the fixture plate. So what I'm doing today is just a little bit of silicon bronze TIG brazing. You might remember several months ago I did this hammer where I overlaid silicon bronze on the faces, used it for welding that bung in, and I used about 1 pulse a second for a lot of that. And that worked out pretty good, and I'm still learning on the pulse settings here. I do know that it has a favorable effect. This is a horizontal joint here, and it would try to sag without the pulse. The pulse made it sort of stick better. You can see here it's kind of more viscous, and instead of just running down there being all watery, using pulse allows it to allows you to control the molten puddle a little bit better. And on that same video, I demonstrated using a few different methods for overlaying here. Here I'm just dipping in and out using minimal heat. Here I'm just leaving the rod in the puddle lay wire, and you can see it's flowing like honey right there as well. But you do have to be really careful with your heat. It's very easy to get too much amperage, too hot. So I found that pulsing just sort of helps. This is a pretty good example of that. I'm right next to an edge. It would be really easy to run it right over the edge. So I pulsed the faces of that hammer out, and here's another really close-up shot. These were too good not to share again. But I found that pulsing not only helped in out of position, but it helped keep the puddle a little cleaner, because when you get silicon bronze overheated, it's very easy to get a lot of scum on it and a lot of oxides floating around, whereas pulsing really tended to limit that. As long as you have good clean metal and good argon shielding, those are the 2 keys to TIG brazing, I think. Okay, enough of that. We're going to get into that TIG brazing of the star here right now. Now these laser cuts are super clean, but it never hurts to clean in a little bit more. So I cleaned all the cut surfaces, wiped my silicon bronze down with acetone. That's always important. And then fixtured it up, little quick modular fixturing there. I'm using a number 8 furick cup with about 15 to 20 CFH of argon. And again, argon, good argon shielding, good clean rod, good clean metal. is the keys to TIG brazing. Incidentally, it's often referred to as just TIG welding with silicon bronze. Technically, it is brazing. Unless you're actually welding silicon bronze with silicon bronze, then you're melting the base metal. The goal is not to dilute the base metal when you're brazing steel. The goal is not to dilute that base metal into the braze joint. It will happen sometimes, especially on thinner stuff. It happened probably some on this with those sharp corners. Some of those got melted in, but you want to limit it. Basically, in your mind, you just want to be brazing. You want to just be flowing that metal, not melting the base metal. And you can see it kind of flowing right up to those edges a lot of times. And again, the pulse helps with that. The reason I'm only putting one tack out on the ends is because I may have to tweak and pry and everything. I got a lot of angles here, and everything needs to fit up with minimal gaps. So I can pull it apart now without putting two tacks on it. If I put two tacks, one on each end, it would be kind of locked in, and I just have to live with whatever gaps I could. But with all these joints, I can spread the tolerance over those joints and keep my gaps to a minimum. So, not going to get carried away with the tacking, but once it's tacked, I'll lock it all down with the fixturing here. It's not going anywhere anyway, really. Another good thing about silicon bronze is it pulls a lot less than weld metal. It shrinks less. The shrinkage stresses are less. Now, it's not as strong as weld metal. The tensile strength for this filler wire is listed at 51,000 psi with a melting temperature of about 1866 Fahrenheit. Steel being, melting temperature is somewhere up around 2800 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can see with the big difference in melting temperatures, it's that's the whole benefit of it. It's even possible to braze tool steel and things like that together without transforming the area into hard brittle zones, because you don't ever really reach that temperature sometimes if you're careful. Now, I said before, cleanliness is really important, so you want to have a clean filler wire. You don't want to come in and out of the argon with that hot tip of the filler wire, and you also want to have clean metal and good argon shielding. And when you have all that, things go pretty good. You can see the shielding of the cup. You see the heat tint is following along, but under that cup there is no heat tint anywhere. This is a ceramic 12 furick cup, by the way. They're available at weldmonger.com as well. One of my favorite cups. What a difference, huh? Okay, that went pretty good. The others aren't going to probably go as good. I have some gaps here and there on the other joints, but we're just going to live with it. This is just going to be an ornamental piece, just kind of an experiment in basically blackening the steel after it's all done and seeing how it responds as opposed to the silicon bronze braze joints. Hopefully it'll give a lot of contrast. See, I'm going kind of uphill here. That's where pulse really seems to help. I did experiment on a couple of these joints with, pulse, no pulse. Here's one without pulse. I'm just packing the filler rod in there a lot and often to keep the puddle cooled off. It's easily doable. It's just that the pulse tends to help on those out of position things, as well as keeping the temp down a little bit. Got a little gap on this one too, and I'm just pushing a little rod in there each time it pulses. It's filling it right up. See, I've got a little scum, a little oxide film on that one. Don't know if I didn't clean it thoroughly, or if it pulled some oxide from the inside, or what. Now, this got a little gap here. This is a 332 rod. That's about a 332 gap. In those cases, pulse and going downhill will just fill that thing up very easily. And going downhill, I would downhill this if I was welding it as well. There's no point in going uphill on a gap like that, unless for some reason you have to. Well, at this point, this thing's getting pretty toasty, so I'm running out of places to prop. You can see I got a TIG finger XL slipped over two of my fingers. The XL usually fits over 2 fingers, depending on how big a boy you are. I really like being able to prop pretty much anywhere, no matter how hot the metal is. It just gives you more options, and options are always good. Sometimes it's really hard to find a place to prop, and you need to prop somewhere where it's hot. That's where it really comes in handy. Now, the question always comes up, you use DC or AC, and you can use both. The one on the right was welded with AC, one on the left with DC. The one on the right's a little shinier, but once you put a wire wheel on them, they both look fine. Kind of my rule of thumb is I usually use AC for aluminum bronze and DC for silicon bronze, but there's always exceptions to every rule. We're getting close to the finish here, and what I want to do is I want to sew up these inside tight angles before I do the very outside. I'm saving the very tips for last because when you're welding something closed like this, it'll build pressure and it'll blow out sometimes. So I don't want that to happen on a place that's hard to get a grinder. You can see my electrode extension there. That's a benefit of using a cup like this. Again, this is a furick 12. You can extend the electrode an inch easily for tight spots like this. And sometimes I even use some aluminum foil as kind of a dam to trap the gas. And the very last thing is just sewing these little areas on the tips like that up. I save those for last. In case one blows out, it's very easy to get a grinder there and repair it. But if you let it cool first and then hit them quick, that's the key I have found anyway to when pressure's building up inside something. So that's done. We'll wire wheel the heck out of this thing now. Scuff it up maybe with some Scotch-Brite and alcohol, and then give it the blackening treatment. Like anything, like painting, welding, brazing, whatever, preparation is sort of like the better part of it. So you got to have this thing prepped, scuffed up. You know, you don't want any mill scale left on it. Got this tip from my buddy Alex Brown at Caveman Welder on Instagram. Brownell's Oxfo Blue. He uses this for a lot of tooling in the shop to blacken it to keep it from rusting. It's just an easy coating. And it's not supposed to respond to those bronze areas, but I wasn't totally happy with the way that it worked because I don't know if I smeared some iron residue with the wire wheel onto those areas, but I guess you could see the contrast pretty good. I wound up doing several coats and then wiping it down with WD-40 to get things to kind of even out. But I'm going to have to experiment some more with this coating process because I think it could come out better than what it did. Here I'm just kind of using a cotton buffing wheel to kind of get the leftover WD off of it and kind of just experimenting again. I haven't done one of these before, so got a lot to learn. It came out okay. Not completely happy with it. I definitely left a few crater eyes and things like that. I could have done a better job with the TIG braze joints, but I learned a lot. And so I'll be experimenting with this coating process on some other things. Well, hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate your support. My online store is at weldmonger.com. That's how I support these videos. So for TIG fingers, TIG gloves, TIG cups, and a lot of other accessories, visit weldmonger.com, and we'll see you next time.